Welcome to the Phillip Wiley Show. Take a look behind the curtain of professional hacking and hear compelling discussions with guests from diverse backgrounds who share a common curiosity and passion for challenges and their job. And now, here's your host, offensive security professional, educator, mentor, and author, Phillip Wiley.
Hello, welcome to another episode. I'm very happy to have Nenad Zaric joining again today. Nenad was on one of my latest or last week's episode of the Hacker Factory podcast. And I wanted to have him on again on my new podcast. With the new podcast, it's not all about, people's starts and career advice. I want this to be something useful to people of all levels, whether you're trying someone mid-level, someone that's been in security for a while, or maybe even management, to get an idea of how some of these things are done, some best practices. So, whenever I was thinking about this, I thought it'd be great to invite him back to kind of share his story, because one of the things he's kind of figured out along the way, and a lot of successful bug hunters or security researchers find out, is if you're going to be successful in bug bounty, you have to do some kind of automation. Trying to go through and manually do all this stuff, and just having scripts is not enough. And you need a way to automate this. And I thought this would be a great episode, because this is something to share for people that are in bug bounty or people just getting started in bug bounty, on how they can kind of optimize their efforts and be more successful. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Phillip. It's great to have you here and to speak again about me and about everything we do.
Yeah, it's great to have you on, and you've got a really exciting product. And I know a while back I heard there's been some updates and enhancements to it. But before we get into the conversation, why don't you kind of share your background and how you got started? Especially, you mentioned earlier how you've kind of your first offensive security type of attempt that got you interested.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been doing as a hobby for at least 15 years, even in elementary school. I actually hacked my high school website back in the days, of course, ethically. And when I moved to the college in Belgrade, I basically was not sure about if I would even start in cybersecurity as a career. That was just like a part-time kind of hobby for me. And I came to one of the conferences that happened at my college, and there was some security company there, and I asked them a lot of questions because I was interested in the topic, in the subject. And what happened basically is, after a few days, they called me back and said, do you want to join for an internship in our company? So I got there. And also, I realized after starting the college that all of the subjects in my college have their own websites, and those websites are usually for materials for students to download, exams, samples of materials and that kind of stuff. And I kind of tried out to hack it, and actually did it. Found some SQL injections, and then basically got into the whole infrastructure of the college. Rooted the servers basically, but I did it because I wanted it to be secure for all of the students, especially. So I kind of tried to figure out what would be the best way to submit it, kind of like a bug bounty, but without the reward. And I found one of the professors, which is actually doing is doing the cybercrime subject. And I basically approached to her and said, your infrastructure of this faculty is pretty bad. If I can help somehow, I can do the testing, also as an internship or whatever. And they got thrilled basically and accepted me there. So I kind of worked both in the college as a security engineer and in that company that I got from the conference. After a while, I decided that maybe it's time to move further and get to some sort of a legit company, software company, to see how processes are being done there. And I joined one biotech company, which is creating a platform to automate basically sequencing of DNA. They have pharmaceutical companies there create the workflows, where they sequence the DNA and analyze the data and derive new medicine from it. So I got intrigued with that kind of workflow approach in solving problems, and I also did the bug bounties at that time as a part-time. So I kind of connected the two, and created some sort of a web application which basically kind of needed to solve the problems I had in terminal, like installing the tools, SSHing to servers, remembering the parameters of the tools, like backupping of the data, because like when you execute all of those tools and get the data, you must pay for the infrastructure. So it was kind of also a big cost for me. So I kind of created just a web application for my own bug bounty purposes. And at that point, I realized that my bug bounties are started to rise. So I was kind of, okay, now we have like an solving of the problems of installing of the tools, having them like readily available on click. But also we have on the other part that workflow approach, which was kind of intriguing. And that was kind of like a connection between the what we are doing now, which is like after like a while we kind of started creating the MVP, got the VC funding, and now we are a platform for automating offensive cybersecurity with that workflow approach and with the engine inside, which is doing all of the executions.
Yeah, it's kind of really nice, because a lot of cases you figure, someone is doing bug bounty to do something similar. You're going to have some kind of virtual private server to begin with, because, people try to run this all from their computer internally. Something happens that they lose connection to the internet. Then they've lost all that work. So I can see where that's a huge benefit. It also seems like a good benefit from the workflows that I could see where this would help teams with more junior level pen testers to be able to replicate what the more seniors are doing.
Yeah, I mean, like there is like I think nearly 4 million workforce gap, like that people are missing in the cybersecurity, and especially those that are coming. Of course, they are juniors, so the workflows are basically totally reproducible. So you can have them visually and not have them in some sort of like a command line tooling or in some scripting languages like Bash or Python. You have it visually and you can imagine and see exactly what is happening with each of the processes, which is pretty beneficial. And we already see that people realize new methodologies and think about new ideas through our workflows.
And I would imagine too. So what about like sharing, if someone sharing a session, is someone from your team able to access the output from your workflows?
Yes, like for the enterprises, we have that collaboration feature, and we actually like have a vision of our platform being the Figma for pen testers, like some sort of like a live collaboration where people could like collaborate on a specific workflow and a specific use case, and especially in like a big scale research. So what is like which is kind of like now exclusive, but we are working on a workflow that will gather all of the GitHub data from 2015 inside of one workflow. We are creating that with one of our partners, and basically that workflow will be available when we are finished with the research and we publish it. Of course, that workflow will be available to everyone, which is kind of what we see is a real benefit for the platform and for the users, of course.
Yeah, be able to access that information is helpful, because you're doing it the old way from a command line. And if you've got like a shared server in your organization, because I've worked on several pen test teams as a consultant or as an internal resource, and usually a lot of cases internally they don't really get it right. So you're going in there, you've run your sessions, and someone needs to get access. Then either if you're not putting in a shared folder, then they have to have permissions to access your folders to get the information, and it just makes the sharing of information it's kind of clumsy and at best.
Yeah, for sure. It is kind of really messy, and also like people that don't know how to do it, they will just not be in the inside of that project, or will not be able to collaborate with others.
Very awesome. So if you don't mind, we could take a look at
Of course.
Trickest and see how it works. And one of the things for listeners here is, if you're doing bug bounty, this is something that you can get for your own use, from the professional.
Like, is it working? Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
Okay, so what we are doing is integrating the community made tools, which are kind of like always getting better and more reliable and getting the better results. And we are sorting them per category. So those are the tools connected to the testing of the cloud storage, containers, fuzzing the applications. Even we have machine learning tools, cracking the passwords, static code analysis, and so forth. So basically, you can think about it as any command line tool, not just from the security, but also for data processing, could be integrated into the platform. So those are the tools we add. And basically, when you open some of the tools, I will just open a random one. You have all of the parameters. So basically, instead of you remembering like all of the parameters which you need to execute in the terminal, like is it -k, -d, or whatever the parameter is, we give them the human readable format. So basically, you don't need to worry about that. We are ordering of the tools is also done by us. The tools are pre-installed, so you don't need to worry about like or to even install them. They are already there. And that those tools are the building blocks for the workflows. So like I can just immediately jump to the editor to show you how it's done. So I'll just create a new workflow, demo workflow 2, open it. And yeah, this is, let me just open it here. And this is where the magic happens, and like how like where you build your automations. So let's say we want to gather the infrastructure or the subdomains for a specific company, which is kind of like the first thing in recon, or like when you're doing the bug bounties. So on the left side, you can see all of the tools which I just showed you in the library, and you can just drag and drop them. Like this from left to right, and basically they will be available on the canvas and ready for the configuration. So when you click on the tool, you already have the parameter enabled on the left, but of course you have all of the other parameters on the right. So as I said, you don't need to worry about the command. You just have the human readable format. So in this case, let's say I want to enable the passive mode. And also I want to add a value to the domain. So I can do it like this, just expanding it and enabling a string parameter for an input for the domain. So let's add like trickest.com. And yeah, this is like ready for the execution. And what you can see is that when you click on the tool, the command, which actually is being like used in the terminal, is like automatically generated. So do you have like any kind of questions or like
No, that's pretty interesting, and that's nice that it actually gives you the command too, instead of just doing whatever in the background, so you can kind of see how things are working. Because one of the things, advice people always give you is use tools but understand what they do, and this is kind of a good way for people that they're new to the tool, or maybe they're new to pen testing altogether, for them to get to learn how it works.
Yeah, of course. Like you can also open the description of the tool and see what it does. Network mapping of attack surfaces, external asset discovery. So you immediately know what the tool is about, and it's in specific category. So I'll just add another tool, Subfinder. I can add also Find Domain. I can add Vita, which I know already that these tools are having like a root domain for an input. And I can reuse the same string node for different tools, which is pretty important, because this means that the whole workflow will be altered by the initial input. So that makes workflows reproducible. So basically, you just create one workflow which is doing a specific use case, and then you can just change an input per target, per root domain, per IP address, and so forth. And I will show you later the predefined workflows we have. So yeah, now we have all of those 4 tools, and we have the second type of the node, which are script nodes. So those are either Bash or Python scripts, but you can of course add any or write any kind of language you want. So I will just drag and drop the custom script, which is empty, and actually in the tools the commands are being generated, but in the scripts you can write your own commands or your own scripts. So I'll just delete the content of the script and connect the outputs of all of those tools together. So Finderman, Subfinder, AMAS, custom script. And what we can do now, all of those tools are having different outputs, and we are not sure like if there are any duplicates or like some tool gives us better results than the others. So I will just create a script which will merge and duplicate the results. And here I can write the script. So on the right side, when you click on the script node, you can see all of the outputs of all of those tools. So I can just do it like this. Cut is basically a command which will just get all of the content of the file that is used as an input. So I will just do it like cut, and we can use the wildcards, which means that we will merge all of the inside folders of those tools outputs, and I will output it to the output.txt. And yeah, that is basically done, and it's ready for the execution. So this is the passive enumeration, and basically how like you execute the tools. We are currently in the builder tab, and when I click on the execute, I can execute it on as many machines as I want, or as they are needed for this workflow. So currently we can run it on 4 in parallel, so I can just execute it on 4 machines. And what will actually happen is that we will be in the run tab, and the new run will be created, which means that the platform is currently scaling the machines, basically doing the like what like actually BPS or security engineers are doing, but like dynamically. We are scaling them at the point in time when the execution is being like when the new run is created or the users clicked on the execute inside of the editor.
Well, very cool. Are you able to schedule?
Yes.
The runs? Okay.
Yeah, of course. Like you can on the builder tab, you can schedule the workflow. You can select how many machines you want it to be run, when is the start date, and how many. Like we have also intervals, so you can execute it every day, every 7 days, even every minute if you want.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, so now they are running, and when you click on it on the tool that is running, you can see actually like what you already see usually in the terminal when you execute all of those tools. Okay, find the man is finished, so we can see all of the passive enumeration for currently the Trickest.com. So I can just go back and do other stuff like find all of the web servers, and then whatever, like do the port scan. I can even add multiple port scanners in case some of them like give different results. I can of course select the port, so I can say 8443, which is basically again generating the command automatically. So like it's -p 80443 for a specific ports, like in this case web server ports. I can of course again connect the same ports to the specific tool, so I can reuse the port. So now I can say this is a web server scan, but like I want to do also a SSH scan, so I can just do it, just change it to something else, and it will be ready for the execution. And yeah, in this case, I connected it to HTTPX, which will just we will change it, so we'll just do it like this, so we can connect both of those to HTTPX, and we can of course do the copy and pasting. So yeah, that's how easy it is to create the workflows and to like automate the methodologies. So yeah, do you have any kind of maybe the ideas so I can continue building?
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So how much time is this saving you? Because I know you were still actively doing bug bounty. So
Yeah.
how much time did this save you compared to whenever you were doing things manually or just writing your own scripts?
Yeah, to be honest, when we created the editor, I like didn't execute any tool in terminal, so I could not just say like how many times, but like I think it's at least 10 to even 20 times faster. I mean, like we can ask your audience how many it would take to create this kind of script, like in Bash or in Python or any kind of scripting language. For me, it took like how much, like 2 to 3 minutes. But like if you want to make it like, okay, maybe you can make it also in a script, but like it would be really problematic to make it scalable, which we're actually doing. Like we are executing the workflows on like as many machines as you want, up to 60, up to 100 machines. So I can actually show you that. So going to the fleet, basically you have the machines reserved and readily available when you execute the workflows. So you can basically execute it like hyper scalable on 50 machines if you want. And also what I wanted to show are the predefined workflows for the people that are not like that are beginners in learning of the platform, because of course there is like a small learning curve when you just get into the platform on how you build the workflows. And I probably build these workflows pretty fast. So when you get into the platform, you have the predefined workflows which are ready, and you can just change the inputs and do your own automations. So I can actually show some of them. Let me just randomly pick some. For example, the single web app fuzz. So this one will you have like a target host, target web app, and what we'll do get all of the possible backups of the web application, spider the app, get all of the URLs with scripts, and then merge all of those URLs, and also add additional word lists for brute forcing. It will brute force them, and finally you will see the results in this format. So basically you don't need to worry about like what's happening here. You just need to like add a target host, which is your web app that you wanna test, and wait for the get URLs to be green to get all of the outputs.
Very cool. So if someone had a work, so can people copy like one of the workflows and modify it so that way they don't mess up the original workflow?
Yes, of course. Like they can just copy the even entire workflow, or they can copy the specific node. So in this case, like for example, this is a workflow to enumerate the whole AWS network for SSL certificates, and basically how it works is that they can just copy it like this. Let me just I'm sharing screen on one tab, so I need to like paste it. So opening. And like they can just modify it as they want. So they can like, instead of scanning the AWS, they can scan the DigitalOcean or Azure, or they can also do something like this and copy the workflow and say, I will do the GCP here, and actually change just the IP ranges for GCP. So basically, any kind of object inside of the editor can be copied and pasted as many times as they want. And of course, they can even interconnect the workflows. So, for example, one of the ways that we saw that it is pretty productive when you're doing the initial bug bounty like scanning or company scanning, is to use the full subdomain enumeration workflow, add your own list of domains, and at the end you'll get all of the subdomains. This workflow is doing like brute forcing permutations and resolving all of those host names. And when you get all of the subdomains, you go back to the library and basically use the workflow which is called scan host with nuclei and sent. Sent is doing the downloading all of the nuclei templates based on this YAML file, which is having the list of all of GitHub repositories with all of the templates. So the previous output of full subdomain enumeration should be here, and basically you can just continue creating the workflow, or you can just copy the whole workflow and paste it into the full subdomain enumeration workflow and just interconnect the nodes.
Very cool. Yeah, one of the things I see the values, and I see a lot of value in this, is someone's got a team of, say like their vulnerability management team that are not really experienced pen testers. You can set up these workflows and they can go in periodically and run these without having to know a lot about how that works. So I just see that's amazing. And then seeing your attack surface management functionality, a lot of cases companies would have to spend a lot of money or a lot of time to automate
Yeah.
managing their external attack surface.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of companies, as we saw, are having some sort of automations in place, using all of those tools, having their own kind of dedicated servers, VPSs, or any kind of infrastructure. But it's kind of like not scalable for them, especially if they want to scale their automations. And what is also important, they sometimes have one-off kind of methodologies they need to do. And it's kind of, they need to do it fast as a task, and they don't have the framework for it to do it like quickly, especially with all of the tools readily available. So they don't need to even find them on the GitHub or whenever. We are always like searching for the new tools and integrating them into the platform.
Yeah, that's nice too, because another thing that you have to deal with as a researcher, bug bounty hunter, pen tester is sometimes when these tools are updated and you go ahead and update them, you can break things. I remember there was a problem with OpenSSL back about 2015, 2016, and one of my tools on Kali Linux broke, and I ended up having to use Docker to use an older version to get SSL scan to work.
Yeah, it's kind of like we also have those issues, to be honest. Like we need to update the workflows, we need to update the tools, but we are kind of trying to make it as automatic as possible, so like users don't they can just focus on their creativity and like just create the workflows, have them scalable, and basically get the best results possible.
Very interesting. So I remember you'd mentioned at the beginning of this demo that it does some machine learning. So what are some of the things you can do with the machine learning features?
So for the machine learning, that's actually a tool which is doing getting the screenshots as an input folder, which it gets it from previous tool, which is generating the screenshots and then predicting how that screenshots look like. Either they are like login pages, or they are like admin dashboards, or they are like something for subdomain takeover and that kind of stuff. So we are kind of having, and we will integrate more, and also we will soon start working on like our own AI features, which I don't want to disclose right now, but it will be pretty awesome to use it inside of the platform.
Very interesting. I look forward to seeing those future features.
Yeah.
So as far as the output from all this data you're collecting during these testing, where do you find that?
What do you mean? Like, where is the data?
Yeah, just kind of where is the data located and where you can kind of export it, what kind of formats?
So the data is like the outputs of the tools are being uploaded and downloaded through S3 buckets, basically. And like about the reports and anything you might think, that depends on the workflows. So some of the workflows are having just like a raw data like here, but some of those are having like more like prettier data, which is based again on the who is making that workflow. This is one of our like really interesting projects called Inventory. You can see it on Trickest Inventory GitHub, and like what is happening there is that basically we are doing automated bug bounty programs, attack surface management. We are covering more than 800 bug bounty programs and over, I think, 5,000 domains. And what we're doing here is like actually creating the reports, like server reports or DNS reports, and pushing them to the GitHub repository. And those are in CSV format. So basically, you can just open them in Excel as a report, and you can actually see all of the stuff.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, thanks for showing this demo. If there's anything that else you'd like to share.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like I just want to share that I didn't show it previously, that you can add your own Python scripts, and this Python script is actually parsing the data from DNSX, which is in JSON, to a CSV format, and making and adding X for the host names that are newly found. So hackers could focus on the new infrastructure, which is just being deployed, which is pretty important when you're doing the bug bounties.
Very cool. Very, very interesting. It's interesting to see, just the improvement since the last time
Yeah.
I saw a demo. It's nice. I can see this where this has really helped teams and really help bug hunters, to help them more utilize their time better.
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, we kind of like, what's important to note is that when we like started, we created the whole platform, whole the execution engine based on the Kubernetes, and two other open source products, which are Rancher and Argo Workflows. You can check it out. We thought that these kind of products will be scalable for us, especially as we are planning on having like thousands of users and hundreds of enterprises. But immediately it turned out not to be scalable because hackers want the results fast. That's the first thing. The second thing is that they want to make it like they are like doing a lot of vulnerabilities testing, a lot of discovery, a lot of it's like, to be honest, random. So it kind of generated like thousands of jobs of tool executions basically that happened inside of the platform. And we realized that Kubernetes just could not at all. We had a lot of issues there. So we kind of created what you saw is the execution of our new engine, which is like we got all of those problems set down and created like the solutions for all of those problems, and we created our own execution engine, which is hyper scalable. You can execute on 50 machines. So basically, any kind of automation, which is where you need a big scale of the execution of like thousands or even hundreds of thousands of the outputs or tasks, could be done now with the engine, which is kind of like, I'm very proud of it. And we can actually see a lot of benefits, especially for our open source projects as well.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So thanks for taking the time today to join the show. Is there anything you'd like to share before we close out the episode?
I don't know, like just like that I think automation is the key for the future. I think that like 40-year-old methodology of I don't want the people to get me wrong. I also love to work in terminal, but I don't think executing the tools in terminal is scalable, and I think people would need like a different way of doing things. And I think that automation, like with or without Trickest, will happen, and that people will need to adopt a new way of doing things, especially as the generally technology is expanding, especially with the AI. There are more and more stuff, and I think automation will need to keep pace with all of that, with all of that technology expanding. So I want people to think about the automation, especially the security engineers and the bug bounty hunters, to think how they can automate stuff. Of course, not everything could be automated, but like when you automate stuff, you are adding like additional time to automate, but you're actually saving the time for the future, for the things that matter. So that would be my kind of way of like closing the episode and just like leaving people to start thinking about the automation in general.
Yeah, automation is so important because you look at the shortage of employees.
Yeah.
Companies they don't have enough people to do what they need to. They need to be able to scale. And the thing is, with AI, machine learning, and all that, and the automation, the threat actors are using that too. So you've got to have some kind of edge to keep up.
Yeah. Everybody's using automation, so like it's better that the whiteheads do it than the blackheads, of course.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for joining.
Thank you for having me here. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, I look forward to next time when we get to see you in person.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for listening to the Phillip Wiley Show. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, to learn more about Phillip, go to thehackermaker.com and connect with him on LinkedIn and Twitter @Phillip Wiley. Until next time.